What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith as we continue our UDFA series. We're going to talk about my favorite team. I done talked about the Raiders, the episode for the Browns, a few other teams. We're going to talk about my favorite team. You see what's on the head. Miami Dolphins, my favorite squad, man. We done had Teron Armstead on the show, Trill Williams on the show, Richmond Webb on the show, Kim Bokamp, so forth. But today, I'm just going to simply be breaking down the film of a UDFA I feel is so very necessary for a very fragile wide receiver room. And yes, fragile is an understatement. So
Stop. Don't do that.
So, Miami Dolphin fans, stick with me to the end because you're going to want to hear what I have to say. Also, comment below how much you agree, how much you disagree. Maybe you have some input, you want to chime in. Hit subscribe. Helps the channel to grow. We're going to talk about Andrew Armstrong, 6'4", 202-pound wide receiver coming out of Arkansas. He played for the Razorbacks, and man, he plays football like a Razorback. When he gets that ball in his hand, he's very tough to tackle. When he gets that ball in his hand, he has ability to take and create plays. And also as well, he had some much needed height to our wide receiver room. Again, very, very, very fragile. I want to take and talk about some of his accomplishments. 1,140 yards. Okay. He almost had 1,000 yards each year while playing college football over at Arkansas. Only had one touchdown. That's a little concerning. That could be attested to a few different things. He does average just over 14 yards per catch last year. But the guy can make plays. He can get open. And for a big guy who's 6'4", he gets separation, and he has a very low drop rate as well too. His RAS score was 8.58. Now with RAS scores, look, man, I've seen people get very high RAS scores who absolutely suck in the NFL. I've seen players who didn't get that much playing time. So when draft time comes around, they look at everything, right? They're going to look at your personality. They're going to look at your stats. They're going to look at the highlights. And of course, how well you work out on your pro day, RAS score, all those things, the cone drill, jump drill. How are you doing on the bench? 40 time, they're looking at the whole picture because you are going to be a multi-million-dollar investment. But I've seen it where players before, there was one guy, he got almost a perfect RAS score and still did not get an opportunity, yet alone even a camp invite to go be a part of the NFL. So I've seen that before too. His 40 time was pretty good. For a guy who's 6'4", it was a low 4.5. I'm pretty sure when you see him on tape, he looks like he runs below a 4.5. He looks like he runs a 4.4, but he ran a 4.52. So that's not bad. That's what he got in his first round while running the 40 time over at the NFL Combine. So I'm a huge, huge fan of this young man. I'm going to take and talk about who we currently have on the roster. And what are his actual chances? What are his actual chances of taking and making this team? Because I feel he can definitely take and make this team personally. He has a lot to take and offer. So yeah, man, let's go. Let's get into it. Bear with me a sec as I pull this up. Okay, so I got our wide receivers right now. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 wide receivers right now. I'm gonna tell you right now, he's better than well, we don't know because he hasn't played in the NFL yet, but looking at it from a prospect standpoint, he looks better than a lot of the guys in the room. Now, we have guys who are 6'3", 5'9", 6'2", 5'10", 5'10", 5'8", 5'10", 6'2". That's not a very tall wide receiver room, okay? And then let me see here. Tariq Black is a guy who I don't know anything about him. I didn't even know he was on the Dolphins roster, and I'm a hardcore fan, right? So I know that we did sign 6'2" Nick Westbrook Ikine. And first I wasn't too familiar with his game. Then I watched what he did when he was on the Tennessee Titans. I was blown away. So that guy's making the roster. Okay. Then you have some fringe guys, right? You got Taj Washington, Malik Washington, you got the Washington Bros. I love it. Both smaller guys, but get insane amount of separation. They got really good hands. You look at what Taj Washington did when he played for USC and what Malik Washington did when he played for Virginia. Man, it is amazing. They should have been drafted higher, and in my opinion, they definitely should. But those are both steals for us. If I remember, I think Taj Washington was a UDFA. Don't shoot me on that. I can't remember. But then we got Jalen Waddle, who's like our big star. You know, he got to stay healthy. He got to catch passes. That's very important. He's 5'9", which I think is pretty accurate. Okay. And then we have Ty, who's getting at some point in the year. If the year is just it's stinking and our big star is not doing what he's supposed to, it's something else. He'll be something else. He loves throwing subliminals on Twitter. He will end up getting traded. Again, I'm not a Dolphins insider, okay? I won't act like I am. Then there's Eric Ezukanma. And Eric Ezukanma, man, we thought we were getting Deebo Samuel in him because that's kind of how he was used when he was over at Texas Tech. Eric Ezukanma does that. He put him on the jet suite, man. He does his thing, but the guy got to stay healthy and be consistent. So that I want to see. D. Eskridge, I knew a little bit about him when he was at Western Michigan. I've been covering the draft professionally here on YouTube for 5 years. Very, very good college football player, but we haven't barely seen the guy ever touch the field throughout his career. And then, of course, we talk about Tariq Black, who's only been in the NFL for a year. So I'm looking at Eric Ezukanma, D. Eskridge, Tariq Black. Just those 3 guys alone, I see him beating them out. I see him possibly getting on the roster spot, but maybe even fitting in for a wide receiver 5. Because if Malik doesn't come through, if Taj doesn't take and come through, then of course, hey, we got Andrew Armstrong, 6'4", 202. Make it happen, Mike McDaniel. But also Andrew has to take and do his job as well, too. That is very, very, very important. Now, I could turn this video into a bash of Mike McDaniel. I'm not going to take and do that today. I'm rooting for this young man. So we're going to keep it about Andrew Armstrong. I have a lot of frustrations with the Miami Dolphins.
It feels terrible and it looks dreadful. I'm trying my best. Maybe your best isn't good enough.
I mean, frustration is probably an understatement. It probably is an understatement. So let's pull up some more information. Let's take it back to Andrew Armstrong, man, and the greatness that he takes in, he possesses. Now, here are some fun stats about Andrew Armstrong and some of his accomplishments while playing for the Razorbacks. Okay, now he's originally from Dallas, Texas. Got to throw that out there, man. Dallas is what Miami is to Florida, is what Dallas is to Texas, man. They crank out so much great NFL talent. But he was a 2024 first team All SEC AP Phil Steele, 2024 second team All SEC, ranked amongst his coaches, 2024 Biletnikoff Award watch list, 2024. These are 2024 pretty much. Fourth team preseason All SEC Phil Steele. He had an honorable mention in the preseason All SEC, and then in 2023. He was the fourth team All SEC, Phil Steele. Okay, so those are some of his shout outs and accomplishments. I think that's pretty impressive. He did lead the SEC in receptions. So the guy can be fed a lot. 78. Now, when you watch his highlight reel, you see him catching the ball deep. You'll see him in the slot. You see him all over the place. And I think that's really important, man. There's a player, and I'm going to shout him out. For all my real NFL draft heads, you guys probably know this is. If not, Google him. Danny Gray. Danny Gray, he's still in the NFL. He's currently on the Philadelphia Eagles. It's my friend. That is my guy right there. I've had him on the show, but when you watch his highlight reel, it's mostly deep balls that he was catching. It's mostly deep passes that he was getting. And they kind of pigeonholed him. And that could be because the coach, that could be because of him, that because the plays that the coach was just calling that they put him in for. But in the NFL, he hasn't really had a whole lot of burn. I think he's had like maybe 1 touchdown throughout his career. You know what I mean? But again, that's my guy right there. But he's a bigger dude as well too, right? So when I look at Andrew Armstrong, I see him. Well, he's in a slot. Okay, he only averaged 14 yards and change per catch last year. That tells me that hey, you can take and dump the pass over to you 5 yards in, and then you can make the most of it, right? But yeah, so he led SEC in receptions, 78. That's a lot, 1,140 yards, and then he had 103.6 yards per game. Caught a pass in 39 straight games to end his career. Eclipsed the 100-yard mark for the 5th time in the 2024 season with 9 catches for 128 yards during a loss to Missouri, November 30th. Became the 5th Razorback in program history to eclipse the 1,000-yard mark in receiving in a single season. Courtesy of Holland in 8 catches for a game-high 81 yards in a win over Louisiana Tech, November 23rd. So you could read all this on ArkansasRazorbacks.com and type in his name, Andrew Armstrong. It goes on and on and on. It's crazy because I read some of these for some players and it's just like one paragraph, and that's cool. That may be a juicy paragraph with some good information. but it just goes down in all the things that he has accomplished, man. All the things. Mad important. Mad important. So, anywho, that is Andrew Armstrong. I hope he makes the Miami Dolphins. I hope he makes the final roster. I feel that he will. He could potentially be a wide receiver 5. Worst case scenario, maybe the practice squad, but he has to show up. He has to do what he needs to do. He needs to stay hungry. And I don't doubt that. When I've seen the little bit of interviews, I've seen him online. He seems like a positive young man, a guy who would really culturally fit in well with the Miami Dolphins locker room. But again, we're fragile. Our 2 best receivers, there's injury issues, there's off-field stuff, not with Waddle, but Tyreek. It's always something, man. And I don't feel confident the Dolphins will go above 7 wins this year. I'm just going to be honest. But this is a rebuilding year. It's the R word that we all hate to use, rebuilding. That's okay. That's okay. When we rebuild, look, it starts with the draft. I really like our draft. I give us a solid B-. We reached kind of on 2 of the DBs. I don't want to ramble too much on that, but I do like that, hey, with the receiver room, Andrew Armstrong, 6'4", 202, a guy who led the SEC in receptions. You know, I have some concerns about the 1 touchdown. I have some concerns about only having a 14 point whatever yards per catch on average, but that could also be the quarterback. That may not be his fault as well, too. I didn't watch every Arkansas game this year. I might have watched 1 or 2. So anyway, comment below, hit subscribe, support the channel. Check out my other UDFA videos for other teams, man. Also, this year I did over 50 NFL draft prospect interviews with the actual players on this show. So y'all know I'm an NFL draft head. It'd be on my noggin, man. So I love sharing stories about players as well and breaking down film. So hit subscribe. See y'all next time. Peace out. Thank you for watching another episode of The Touchdown with Doug Smith, where we have exclusive NFL content and exclusive NFL interviews. Be sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. Follow us on social media. See you on the next one.